this is actually happening, and yet they'll walk out of the movie house or the living room or wherever and on to the next thing. And I'd like to see more of the things that have already gone before us that are proof positive of the fact that there is good in this world and there's good in people. But it all seems to go away with the person's death or whatever. And it doesn't go away. It will always linger like history books. They just are what they are. I said earlier, I want to know the story. I want to know, to whatever extent I can, what's actually happening. I want to know the truth.
And I feel that same way. I think Michaela does too.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess more than anything else, I would like to see the world not so afraid of its truth, and then willing to share its truth with people and share its impossible situation with people. And if we can do that, then I think people stand a much, much better chance of saying, "Oh, okay, no, I get it. It makes sense to me now." But
kind of like a thing that makes it easier for me to like be able to, come my own head off and ask you for the help, which it's not. This wasn't hard at all. You're doing great. I feel like you needed something like this to happen.
And I could no more challenge you on your request and fly. No, I can't do that. All right, no, I'm not willing to do it. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. In essence, I agree with you that there's so much that needs to be said and done that it never gets said and done, and so little focus on that, so little attention to that. It's like people lose sight of what's really important because it's not constantly there in our face. Constantly there in our face, constantly saying, "Hey, talk to me, be here, see what I'm about." And once people realize that is the case, that the reality never goes anywhere, it stays right there with us, and all we have to do is embrace it. Right. Say, "Okay, come here, all right, give me a play."
So my way of embracing y'all is like, the reason I got this honor was because I was like, dude, how am I gonna save the world? Like, I need help. There's not just gonna be one person to step up and save the whole world. That doesn't make sense to me. It's gonna take a group, and then a community, then an organization, and then a whole town, and like it just gets bigger from there.
It has to spread like the coronavirus. Just one thing
that's going fine right now. Like, that was a good one. See, I wish I could. You have a really good hope to you, right? So, just being here, like hearing it, I know that someone out there is probably gonna find this video, and it's gonna be more than what they thought. They were like, "Oh shit." Like, this guy was smart for getting this all in the video.
Well, and I say this, I have never ever thought of myself as a difference maker or the final potion of whatever it is that's going to finally result in a solution or something. That's never been my thought. Or I just don't trust in that at all.
That's because you're the value I seek most in you. You're born into a family of that value, which is never give up.
Yeah,
Don't ever forget why you're going to be who you are, why you're going to make such a big impact. Yeah. This wisdom right here is like, now if they start reading this and they ignore it, well, when they're ready to listen to an old timer's advice to keep their piss and vinegar in check, they can go back to this video.
Yeah.
You don't have to be waiting around. You don't have to wait for that opportunity. Like, I promise I'll keep your video safe. I'm not going to let it get dusty.
So, and I would say over and over again, don't expect too much of anything or anybody other than yourself.
Yes, sir.
Expect the most of yourself. Expect the best of yourself. Expect yourself to rise to the occasion.
Right.
Expect it, because if you don't, then the likelihood is you'll cower from it. You'll shrink away from it. You won't want to deal with it. Okay. And the fact is, once you accept the futility of ignoring things that can't be ignored, that shouldn't be ignored, that don't deserve to be ignored, you get to the point where you realize that was kind of a stupid waste of time and effort, wasn't it, to try and get away from that, when all it was something saying, "Hey, I'm here to help you."
Yeah.
Help you.
Right. Yeah, That's a good point. You know,
God, I think, put that in every one of us. I think God put that. Don't give up.
yeah,
Don't stop trying.
right. I think it's important to know, like, when you're hurting yourself because, like, you're so attached that you're not giving up when someone's really not ready to take that advice. So like, I feel like the whole time capsule thing is now we have this technology in our life, so that video is not going anywhere.
Right on.
Young men can watch parts of this through their whole life learning it, or someone can be smart and sit down and watch the whole thing and hear what your salt and pepper has to offer to our, what is not salt and pepper yet.
Well,
Which is
and
still-
it's an opportunity for us to realize that we don't have to live and die. I said this to George once. I said, George, you don't have to die on every hill.
Yeah.
He looked at me like, say what? I said, you don't have to die on every hill, dude. Like every hill you go up, you go up like Teddy Roosevelt up San Juan Hill. Come on, man. It's life.
Okay.
It's just life. He got real mad at Chevy a week ago or 2 weeks ago, or maybe 8, 9 days ago, or something like that, because he called the house 5 times, and I didn't hear his phone, and she didn't hear his phone, so we didn't answer it. In his mind, we were fornicating.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
She's pretty young. Good job, boss.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm saying, no, excuse me, but I said I was alive a lot longer, 5 years longer than you, George, and I would dare say to you that I've known her a lot longer than you have, and she's been my caregiver a lot longer than she's been your girlfriend.
Yes, sir.
Caregiving versus sex.
Like I don't want you to waste this opportunity. I keep hearing you bring up your roommate. I know that she's close to your heart, and obviously this is one of the things that I feel like you don't realize yet, but there's more girls out there like her, just like her. What kind of advice would you give them? The situation is she's letting this man abuse her,
Yeah, and what I tried to tell her is, please understand this. You have so much more to give than you know.
Yeah.
You have so much. She lost her children to the courts, and because of methamphetamine. And I told her, I said, there isn't a person on the face of this earth who's gone through what you've gone through, who hasn't experienced relatives, their loved ones lying about them to the kids. Telling them things that just are not true. Like, they had to go to jail for this. They had to, just bullshit. I said, when you get to the point where you realize that the people who love you the most will say and do things that they think are helpful to you and to the kids, but the reality is they're not helpful to anybody. They're harmful.
Yes, sir.
And the fact is, mothers should never, ever, ever be separated from their children, ever. Okay. I don't care if it's methamphetamine, heroin. I don't give a damn what it is.
So
that mother should be stuck with the reality of, this is me. This is part of me.
So if you were to pull out your grandpa energy, let's say this girl watching, you don't know her, she's a stranger, there's going to be many of them you help, I'm going to make sure of it, but, what if she doesn't have a grandpa and she's kind of like, hey, I need some grandpa advice? What if she was your granddaughter that close? Open your love portal. Like, what's your grandpa advice?
Remember what it was like when you were young and believed in fairy tales and good things. Remember that. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever allow yourself to have that lapse in your mind. The fact is, it was real.
Yeah.
It was real, and you were deserving of it. And that's why you experienced it. And what you need to do is embrace life, attack life with the understanding that I'm a good person. I'm not a terrible person. I'm not a horrible thing.
And she doesn't deserve to get treated like that.
No, and he needs to know that he doesn't need to treat people like that.
Something I see is like, I would tell her, just because I'm full of salt and pepper, piss vinegar right now, it's all a nasty mix, but I would tell her she doesn't really realize, like, she can accept this pain and continue letting it go on, but does she really realize how it's affecting her own roommate?
Well, I think more than anything else, she's...
it affects everyone around her.
It's almost like she thinks, if I don't believe what he says about not being here forever, then he'll be here forever, type thing, And that's she's kind of dependent on that right now. I said, I don't want to bring up living somewhere for free and stuff. Money and none of that has anything to do with anything.
Yes, sir.
The reality is, you're a good person, and you need to at least walk away from all of this saying, well, at least I want to learn one thing out of this. I'm not a bad person.
Wow.
I'm not a bad person.
That's
I've
strong.
got good redeeming things about me, things that I passed on to my children, that my children are going to pass on to their children, that genetic message that keeps going on and refining itself and getting stronger and stronger the older we get. And the more profoundly changed man becomes, we all still end up with pretty much the same thing, our mother and our father's genes.
You know, that's great advice. Like, you know, and if you're giving that grandpa advice and I was there helping you with this, I would be like the little brother or something. I would be like, sis, like, don't let this guy treat you like this anymore because it hurts us. We love you. It seems like we love you a little more than you love yourself, but we want that to change. And we want to get this guy out of your life if you want him out, but we don't want the way he treats you here anymore. If you love him, we won't stop you from loving who you love, but the way he treats you hurts us.
She said to me, she said, you know, why do you care? And I said, because I have 5 sisters, and I want to see every one of my sisters have a good life. I want to know that they're not being beaten and treated like trash. You know, it's something that you just kill and get it out of your life, not bother with anymore. And that made a difference to her. But like I said, I think she is avoiding my eventual end. You know, and I said, I don't know when that'll be.
Right.
I could be 110 by the time I die. I don't know. I do not know.
Well, like you said, you just ain't ready.
No. If I was, I'd be gone. If I'd had enough, I wouldn't be here right now, and I know that.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, well, you know, you've avoided all the easy ways out. What's the really hard way? Not just the hardest way you can think of, pal. Go for it. Point in that direction and go right now. And
that's awesome.
when I kicked shooting meth and Oxycontins together, I just got up and walked out of the house I was in, and pretty much committed myself to don't turn around, don't even look back over your shoulder. And I walked from West Kiowa over in Colorado City all the way to Callahan before I turned around.
Wow. So you, in that moment, you given up on drugs and made the decision to never go back on that.
Well, I just figured I was going to kill myself doing it. Eventually, I would, you know, I got a rush or something. I don't know what it was.
First of all, thanks for not killing yourself because this happened because you're here.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Well, thank you too.
Oh, and then you wanted to ask him how he met me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I met you handing you 2 cigarettes, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I'd actually, first thing I noticed was your salt and pepper, sir. You know, you look like someone wise because you look a little bit like Odin type stuff. So I asked you, I just recently lost my mom, and I had asked you what the old schoolers, like what that used to mean. You're spreading ashes and how I should do it and what's the respectful way, like, because I don't have anyone around here to like be like, hey bro, this is how you do this with ashes. This is a very sacred thing. So I've been like not really comfortable just going anywhere. And the info you gave me is like, you said, go somewhere you know your mom would want her ashes. And then just let a little bit out, say your prayers, let go. You told me not to let it all out if I don't want to.
No,
and then I was like, oh shit, I'm not stressed about this at all anymore. And that's when we became friends.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And like I said, I think that my advice was true then and it's true now.
Yeah.
It's something where no one can have the appreciation for our moms and our dads that we have.
Right.
You know, there's something. And I know there are moms and dads that are mean and terrible and do horrible things and just don't give a shit about they're more lost than we are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all I can see is, whoa, they're lost. They're totally lost.
Like something that I see us seeing eye to eye on, like this like duality. They're working for that same person.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, whether we see it yet or not. It's whether you're woken up to see it or not.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to be a puppet or you're going to have a little bit of control. You're just going to have to, like, the only thing is once you know, it takes your innocence. So if you turn your cheek after being awoken, like, it's yourself. You'll know if it's bad, if it hurts your heart, right?
Yes.
So when I kind of woke up and I was like, man, all that bad stuff was actually getting me like strong, so I can go and do all this good stuff. Like, I shed my old self, and like now I see light at the end of both dark and light tunnels. So that's kind of the goal, to kind of help people wake up like I did on that. And like how you were saying about, you know, how they're both like, you can't know you're absolutely loved if you don't have a little bit of jealousy, and you don't have a little bit of that like mistrust, and then it gets proven that you're able to trust her. So I'm starting to see this too, you know.
It's a very personal thing, but it's also very universal. It's the story of cleaving oneself to that from which we came.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom and dad,
Rite of passage.
Yeah,
Nice.
nobody ever told me, hey, now here's their genes, here's you, and, you know, the egg and the sperm and everything is, and it all happens that way.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me that. It just occurred to me, these are two people that I love and I care about and I worry about. You know, they mean something to me.
Yeah.
And my dad was an alcoholic and my mom was a spendaholic. And me being the fifth child in the family, I'd be the last person you would think would speak up and say, hey, every Christmas, he drinks to the point where you spend. You spend to the point where he drinks. Nice. At some point in time, this craziness has got to stop. And my grandmother was there for this, and she's looking at me like, what did you just say?
That's why
she took me aside and said, what possessed you to say that? I said, they need to know that our lives are different than they can be or should be,
yeah,
because of this insanity.
So
there's drinking and her spending and back and forth and back and forth. And I said, I just want them to know that as their child, it hurts me to see them hurt each other, and it hurts us, we children, to see it.
We come all the way back in the circle of like having confidence and speaking up.
Well, you can either do that. Do you remember on PBS they had that guy Campbell, Joseph Campbell, and he would talk about mythology, and he's written books. He's passed away since then, but
I am 27, sir. It might not be my time.
Well, and just check it. You might be able to find it on your smartphone. Or
YouTube, yeah.
Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
And this guy was he helped me understand a lot of things that I didn't understand before I started watching, because I don't have much faith in myth or symbology, and that's really what myth was all about. It was designed as something to help fortify the minds and the hearts and the souls of humanity, of the people who read it and understood it. And it was recognized in the society of the time as necessary. And as time's gone on, the mythology's just gotten stronger and stronger and more, and he's talking about the most bizarre mythology, German mythology, and how Brunhilde was in love with Hans and on and on. And, and he gets right down to the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
You start to realize, this is the human condition. This is the human condition. This is what we've been given and what we'll live with. And it's confounded mankind forever.
Huh.
Wouldn't it be great if somebody said, whoa, wait a minute, I think I can make some sense of this.
think,
and Joseph Campbell did. He made sense of it.
If I could put it all in one word, I think that thing that we were given was mystery. It gives us something to chase, And I wanted to let you know, you give me hope because you are 70 years old, correct?
Yeah.
And you still have this big heart.
I hope so.
I've been like, man, I bet I'm going to last like this until I'm 32, and then I'm going to become one of those douchebags who's like completely comatose from being told that it was wrong for me to go loving as hard as I could in the world. Because honestly, like, I've had a lot of fails at it, where people don't want loved. They're scared of it because they're scared to lose it. All I can do is never give up.
Well, I coexisted in a relationship with my wife where, like I said, I was monogamous. I was faithful. I was, in all regards, celibate, with exception for her.
Yeah.
I had no desire for anything or anybody, any concept whatsoever other than her.
Yeah.
And she just could not get that. And it turns out her sister was sexually assaulted by her dad, and I think she was also. You know, so you kind of wonder how much of that fortification that she got when she was really super young stuck with her, and she just sees me as another dirty old man.
Right.
I said, no, I'm not a dirty old man.
So,
I'm just somebody who hopes that I get it right before I get out of here.
So I think what you're trying to say is like, don't get stuck in a certain mind frame.
If you can avoid it,
Okay.
you know, unless you know in your heart of hearts, this is right, this feels right, you know, and it, as I say, it turns out that she not only had that kind of concrete feeling that what she was saying was right, but she kind of used it as an excuse to stray on her own, you know. And there's not a nurse out there that wouldn't prefer to be married to a doctor. I'm sorry,
No,
doctors are,
of course,
they're up in the world, you know. And I just told her, I said, hey, I'm,
good luck.
you know, and everybody has expected me to be really bitter to her about that, and I'm not. And my son says, you know, Mom runs you down every chance she gets. She runs your name into the dirt.
Yeah.
You know, and yet you've never said one cross word about her.
All right.
And I looked at him and I said, she's the mother of my children. And he went,
So I get it. Like, so that's a classic one. Like, maybe you guys should start respecting women and whether they're wrong or not. Just try to let them feel
all wrong. It's
the way they want to.
It's part of being human. We're all wrong at one time or another about something or another. And, you know, it's kind of like I've never seen so much treachery and deception and predation among fellow human beings as I have in this last couple of years. And a lot of people say, well, that's because of methamphetamine. And I'm going, it's a little too simple an explanation for me.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot more to do with the human condition.
I think it's a great excuse for them to blame themselves.
Yeah, and it's an avenue. It's a right of way into something that's not really understood that well, but offers a lot of promise. Yeah. You know, you can have a big daughter, and I grew up early on as a kid believing, don't covet your friends and stuff possessions.
Right.
Don't covet those things. Don't live and die by whether or not you have them.
Yeah.
You know, if you get them, you were meant to have them. If you don't get them, you weren't meant to have them. So, you know, and there's nothing I would hurt my fellow man about to have something that isn't mine.
I'm hearing set yourself like noble standards, but not impossible ones, and then not to be closed-minded. Actually,
exactly.
More be open.
Exactly. Give yourself the wherewithal and the open door to say, you know, I really kind of feel it, but I think I better check my facts a little more closely before I go through this door.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, you know,
like professional almost.
It's just kind of like I'm not going to live to regret it. All I'm doing is checking my facts.
All right. Yeah. Cool. So, is there anything, you know, like I feel like there's going to be more people I meet, and, you know, I'm going to be like, hey, you know, I met this man, Richard. For some reason, he believed in me, you know, and this is why I keep going. So why do you believe in me? Like, should I answer first? Because I kind of told you, man, like, you're 70 and I don't see you giving up. And I'm like, you're the guy I'm trying to, like.
Well, why would you think I'd give up? Or what? I know you've met other individuals who have, and there's a lot of cynicism in this world. I know that.
Well,
but the fact is, we're all family. We're part of a family of man.
But that's the thing, is like, you're very special, because not a lot of people, even in their old age, really get it. I've actually seen them grow more bitter, because I think they had, like what you were just telling me, lots of these expectations, and they weren't so flowing with it. They weren't like, they were single-minded and closed-minded at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
And so the elders that I've got won't even really give me the advice that you're giving, because they're like, I don't know, I feel like a failure.
Well, and if you'd asked me when I was CEO of Red Top, and right after my dad died, we were really close to bankruptcy. Yeah. I mean, really close. And when I retired, we were paying taxes. So I did something right. I don't know what, but
You didn't give
know,
up.
I didn't give up,
No,
and
Your dad passed the
I
torch
basically
to you.
said, I can I do this job? What I couldn't do is drive from my house in Chipeta Park down to work every day and back up again without getting in a wreck. I can't check my blind spots.
Can I ask you, like, the reason you drove so hard? Like, you told me you know, you're the one that helped your father during his passing keep everything afloat and helped your family kind of go through that. Um, what was your drive? Like, were you just doing it to serve your
I
dad?
had uncles took me aside and said, you know something? You're the spitting image of your father. You're just exactly like him. And he was you, and he had a really strange relationship with me. You know, if I said bullshit to him, man, he knew right off. I could no more lie to that man than fly to the moon.
Right.
And when I tell him the truth, and he'd think I was lying.
See, I feel
I just thought, you know, this guy's got it. He's got something about me that he doesn't have about the other brothers and sisters.
yeah.
You know, and he loved all my brothers and sisters. I mean, we received love a lot, and I mean, to the point where he would tell us he loved us.
Do you have to say it's something now, or do you know what it was?
What's that?
Do you know what the value was while you're?
Oh yeah, the similarity between the two of us.
Yeah.
He was precocious. He was outgoing.
Yeah.
He was athletic. He was get run over by a car, and the next day he'd be out playing stickball again.
Right.
You know, wouldn't think twice about it. And that's kind of how my attitude's been. Is like, you know, if you let something slow you down, it will. If you just ignore it, gone. Next, you just
It's the same
somehow or
thing.
another you manage. You wake up a year from that and you go, oh, I'm still here. I didn't die.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world.
Wow. This,
So,
this
but
is incredible information.
He was a good person, and my mom was a person who was born with polio and had it her whole life. But right before she died, they had to do a hip transplant on it. And she had one leg that was about that much shorter than the other. So when she waited tables and the horseshoe counter that we had at the one restaurant, she walked hours on it. I mean, the woman worked her fingers through the bone. And when the doctor finally looked at her hip x-ray, he went, you're bone on bone here. You know, we got to do something. Well, what they were able to do was shorten her longer leg. For the first time in her life, she walked 2 feet, unlike legs the same size, same length.
Yeah.
You know, which was like a miracle to her.
Right.
And to see the little girl in her come out because of that, I thought, wow. You know, it never dies really. She's filled with wonder. She's filled with excitement. She's challenged by it. And
Right.
she died about a year later. But the fact of the matter was, it was something that was not bad for her. You know, she ended up falling down in the bathroom because she was, you know, probably doing more than she could have or should have.
So I hear. I think you were just. I think you were the person your family needed you to be, and you wanted. Like that what you're doing right now. That's what I want to do for. I don't have that intermediate family, but I kind of look at you guys like my family. So, you know, I'm here and like ready to get that torch of never giving up.
Well, both of you are members of the family of man,
Yeah,
you know, and as am I.
yeah.
And that's never going to change. I can't look at a total stranger and go, I don't want to know that. No, I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to talk to them and find out what I can. And if I don't, maybe they come up on me really. Sorry.
So,
You know.
that's awesome. Going like back on it though is like, cause you know, like maybe if you can tell people like what it was that gave you this motivation or even the patience to give me a chance. Like why did I get this honor? Why am I? What is different about me?
Well,
You were saying something.
You're not afraid. You're fearless. You don't exhibit any fear or insecurity about what you're doing. You seem to be very certain about what you're doing, and I gravitate towards that. You know, I kind of shy away from things that seem insecure and seem iffy or whatever, and I figure there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
believe in this.
If it occurs to me, if somebody believes in something, somebody has conviction, examine that conviction.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody had examined Hitler's convictions, we might not have World War II.
So your advice for people like just meeting me would be examine like convictions.
Yeah, well, and understand that It didn't happen in a vacuum. You haven't become who you become in a vacuum. You
Right.
you became who you became because of very, very intense circumstances.
Yes, sir.
You know, losing someone you love is not. That's not a joke. That's not a. Losing somebody as integral as your mother. You were part of her, and she was part of you.
Yeah.
You know, for 9 months she carried you around and she sustained you.
Yeah.
You know, before you ever took a single breath of air.
Right.
You know, so that to me is important. And
Instead of
I you know, you could have been lying to me about it, but I would prefer to not hear anything from anybody who I believe has the strength of conviction. I think hear this person out, hear what they have to say. So I had listened very carefully to what you had to say, and I can't pick it to pieces and go, it's just all this bullshit. This has all happened before. It's all, you know, water under the bridge. No, it isn't. I think what you're looking at is something that has purposely been avoided by mankind. You know, people have tried to figure out a way, how can we get around this? How can we do something? No, let's sit down here and figure out what do we need to do to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
That's all. You know, become that change you want to see in the world.
but yeah, that's
And maybe that's just
That
the
feels good.
world opening its eyes and its ears and its heart and saying,
Yeah.
okay, I'm frustrated with where I'm at. I give up. Well, what do you got? You know, and hear you out.
yeah.
And then upon hearing you out, going, wow, that doesn't make bad sense at all. That makes really good sense. So
Well,
that's about all I can think about that.
Like, to be young though, like in search of answers, to hear that kind of like response, you know, from you being as salt and peppered as you are with your wisdom, like, you know, I didn't really see myself like that. Thanks for shining that light lamp.
Well, you can,
I hope someone hears.
the reality is,
You guys can be just like us. You just gotta open your heart. I lost a lot of people, so I had a bunch of room, and I was like, this feeling sucks. I'm gonna stuff it with love. So that's what I'm doing. So if you run across me, Michaela, Richard, don't just hear me out. And what my mission is, I think we all have the same thing going on here. So it
Well,
doesn't just take
and-
me, it's
and-
everyone.
dying from an overdose of love would not be a bad thing. I don't think.
Overdose of love. Yeah. That's
You
a
know,
good one.
That's beautiful.
Is there anything else that you would like to say to the world?
Love each other and try to find a way to accept that becoming the change in the world you want to see is possible. You know, all it takes is you to have the resolve and the gumption to say, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this to come hell or high water. I don't know how or what, but one way or another, I'm going to get this done. And once people realize that, once people commit to that, it's like Henry Ford in the car. You know, you can have any color Ford you want as long as it's black.
That might have been way too wise for anyone to get.
Well, and I said to you about the history of the world. I don't know that there were. I don't know for a fact that there weren't more black people in the world than there are white people, and that white people at one point in time didn't occupy the same space that black people now occupy.
Right?
You know, and that there wasn't this tension. You know,
How do you feel about colors?
I think that Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Green Lives Matter. Every color of life matters.
Yeah.
The life matters.
Yeah.
People need to understand that as long as we're alive, we still have a chance. That's all we have is a chance, but we still have that chance.
Okay.
And that's everything, in my opinion.
Amen.
A lot of people look at that and go, well, yeah.
You know, I got this like thing called Skeleton Man's Clan or whatever, because I'm trying to tell people I don't give a shit about your skin color, if you have titties or a slong or anything like that. I don't care what you've been through, if you're a high class government politic alien or a low class somebody that no one believes in. You got a skeleton, then I'm gonna come and get right deep down and inside of it, because this was done for me, and honestly, I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for this kind of reassurance.
Well, I'm telling
This
you
is the
right
first
now,
time
I don't
anyone's
know
ever-
that I would be in your guys' company were it not for this kind of trust in me. And what I'm saying is, I don't know that I'm not your little brother. You know, that's you are ageless to me.
Yeah.
For what that's worth. And I don't see any salt or I see some pepper, but I don't see any salt. You know, the fact is, age is a number.
Yeah.
You know,
Like it's a challenge again.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy to understand it, and I thought for sure I had it figured out.
See?
You know, and 40 came, didn't bother me at least. 50 came, didn't bother me at the least. I had no concept whatsoever. Then I got to 65 and BPH hit. Benign prostatic hyperplasia. You know, where you got to go so bad you just want to cry. And yet you try to go and it's like a few little drops come out of you and it's like a cup of broken glass comes out of you. It's like,
Right. Man.
you know, you just go nuts and all they can give me for it is drugs. Camulocin and some other recidivide or something like that.
Well, I know if it wasn't for these, like, you know, when you pinched me, I learned it hurt. But then you gave me a hug, and because you pinched me once, I appreciated that hug even more.
Right on, right on.
You know?
That makes really good sense too.
Yeah. So, like on that note though, is like, you know, I know you've been talking to me. The reason this video is being made is because you felt like you needed to get some of this shit off your chest, and you needed to almost be immortalized, so you don't have to worry about coming back and having to explain this shit to anyone else again.
Well, and if I did, it would be an exercise in something that I've spent a lot of time and energy and thought about. You know, just contemplating stuff. You know, the times when I'm at a place like this and there's nobody with me, and there have been a lot of those times.
Yeah.
And I am the original Omo.
Yep.
Odd man out, man. I mean, every time. And it turns out in my marriage, I was the odd man out.
So you're the
I had
first
to
one.
tell my wife, I said, I don't want you to have to go through what I know you're going to go through. I know. It's not a matter of I think this or guess. You're going to be resentful and hateful and angry.
And you still loved her.
And I said, and you don't deserve that.
I bet that meant everything to her.
Well, I think it did. And then she made the mistake of saying to the attorneys that were representing her in the divorce that the best way to beat me in court was to make sure I didn't show up.
Huh.
So the gal who was running the office for those attorneys, she contacted the clerk of the court and somehow or another manipulated the stamp of the clerk of the court and made it look like I received everything with return signature, special delivery. I never received anything. I never received the date of the divorce, anything. So the divorce came and went, and I'm sitting out in Yoder, Colorado, staring out a window and the phone rings. I pick it up, hello. Yeah, Richard, this is Kurt. Hi, Kurt. Where were you yesterday? Well, let me see. I think exactly where my little butt is right now, sitting in this chair looking out this window in Yoder, Colorado. Why? He said, well, there was a judgment entered against you in court yesterday. I said, oh, pray tell, for what? He said, divorce. I said, well, you know I'm no legal genius or anything, but I could have sworn that husbands and wives had equal opportunity or equal access to court dates and pretrial hearings and things like that. I have heard and seen nothing. He thought I was bullshit.
Oh.
He thought I was lying to him. Well, then it turns out I hire an attorney, and I get my day in court. The judge comes in and he goes, in all my years as a judge, no, in all my years as a judge and an attorney, I have never seen the 4th Judicial District so completely enmeshed and tangled up in fraud the way they have been in this case.
Wow.
He said, this man has been deprived of his right to speak his piece. And I said, that's all I want. He goes, Mr. Conway, what would this look like if it were up to you? I said, we wouldn't be here right now.
You love
We
your
would
wife.
not. What's that? Yeah, I said, we'd be at home or at work or whatever. But
Yeah.
I said, I can't ever think of any circumstance where a divorce occurs and the children are not profoundly affected by it.
Right.
Every single time it happens. And I swore up and down I never wanted my kids to go through that, ever. And so I decided when I married Katie, I'll be married to her for the rest of my life. And when I found out
sounds
that she
moral.
had different ideas about that, I went, whoa, well, here's what I promise you. You won't have to worry about that if you just, I won't fight you for anything if you just promise me one thing. She goes, what's that? But you can somehow or another make sure the kids hate my guts as much as you must to be doing what you're doing to me. And she goes, okay.
Humble. Nice. You know, there's this whole rumor that, you know, with that wife, everyone ends up talking about, you know, if you weren't willing to walk through hell with her, then you probably wouldn't see her in heaven. It's like, if I don't accept the worst in everybody, the absolute worst, I don't deserve your best.
Trying to think what the Robin Williams film was. What Times May Come, or something like that, where he gets killed, and his kids get killed, and then his wife finally commits suicide, and she goes to hell, but he and the kids go to heaven, and he gets his head angel guy up in heaven,
Yeah.
and they go down to hell and rescue her,
Yeah.
bring her back up.
So you're telling me to never give up. I hear it loud and clear, and I want you to know that I won't, and also everything you shared today, like, I will carry that to the finish line with me until the day I have to pass the torch to someone else who wants to take this mission on.
Right on. Well, and I hope that I've handed you something that's worthy of being held.
No, you have. Something I think is important for the world to see, though. I can't tell you how much this means to me.
Well, it means a lot to me too, and as I said,
I needed this, man.
For no other reason, I don't want to see you or anybody I know go through uncertain times and difficulties. I know that'll happen to you. I know it will.
Yeah, me too.
And it has happened to you. But the fact is, to whatever extent I can help, I'm going to try and make that not so likely in the occurrence.
Well, for what it's worth, I feel like you did that for me.
Well,
So now it's just like, all you got to do is wait for that moment where you got to go up there and see if it worked.
well, and I would have to admit all day long that if one of my kids had been killed in a car wreck or something like that, or will be yet,
Right.
so how will I feel then? How will that affect me? Well, again, I have to kind of look at everything as, while they were
Duality.
alive, they were this blessing in my life. Now that they're dead, do they need to be a curse? No. I don't need to be cursed by this. I'm already cursed enough that I've lost them.
I would just suggest you do what I did. Like, there's a hole there, and fill it up. Find someone who reminds you of your son and help him. That's what I do.
Well,
Like,
or my daughter or whatever. And I said, I don't want to ever assume that I've got all the answers or whatever, but I want to feel secure in the fact that what I'm saying isn't wrong.
it feels
The
right.
good with the bad is a fact. It's a thing that has to happen.
Yes, sir.
And I've gone out of my way to try and prove that to myself. I've taken the good and I've taken the bad. And
So
if I
in
had
your
my
end-
preference, I'd take the good. But if I have to, I'll be able to withstand the bad as well.
So my question is, like, would you change anything?
Anything I could that would have an ultimate outcome
Okay.
difference. It made a difference in the outcome. If it didn't, I would probably have to say, it is what it is.
Nice.
And nothing I say or do is going to change it.
Yeah, and I think, it is, it's all duality. We might have our supreme light that we look into and our supreme dark that we try to, like, not accept and run from. But the reality of it is they're like that rock. We can see this side, but we flip the other side and then we see the other side.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of time, and that's something you kind of helped me fast forward through. It's like time travel. Like, you've helped my wisdom.
Well, and I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't helped by the fact that I realized that people see their lives flash before them in car accidents. And other people describe being in an athletic event or something like that. And the competition's coming at them, and it's 2 seconds before the end of the game, and they put a shot up, and it goes in, and they win the game.
Yeah.
But it has to do with time dilation. And time is an important thing to us because it speaks to everything that we are. We are alive for a specific amount of time.
Yes, sir. Find your purpose, right?
Yeah, you're given
Don't
X
give
number
up.
of breaths or heartbeats or whatever,
Okay.
and when God's time's up,
Yes, sir.
Ding. Next you go.
Yep.
So, and being able to resign to that and just say, okay, when that happens, or should that occur, that's fine. I'll deal with that when that happens. But until then, I don't get to take the day off. I still have to try it and make something good happen. Make something that makes a difference.
Yeah. I'm like, man, even if I'm doing wrong, I pray to God. I'm like, turn that into something good somehow. I messed up. I know. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again, but I can't change the past, so please turn it into something good. I feel like that's a prayer that people can start integrating in their life. Not a lot of people ask God for the right things.
Well, I don't know if you're running out of light, young lady, but
We are.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm thinking right now that I've been blessed again just to be included in what you're thinking and saying about, because I see the inherent value in it.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing mysterious about this to me. It's really common sense. You nurture something that has a chance to grow, you'll grow it.
Yeah.
You know, it'll happen. And you don't have to be an agriculture specialist or anything like that. You just have to be somebody who wants to put a seed in the ground, pour a little water on it, and let the sun beat down on it and go, come on.
That was the perfect way. Here, I want to give you a hug.
Oh, buddy, thank you.
No, thank
Thank you very much.
No, I really appreciate all that wisdom you just gave me and Michaela. And
Yeah, thank you very
everyone
much.
who
You're
gets a
welcome,
chance to
Michaela.
see this video.
Well,
Respect him.
Again,
You won't get another chance like
it
this.
occurred to me something when she's filming me here right now that we have films of all the Christmases of my family, my wife and my kids and I'm not in any pictures because I was always running the camera. You know,